All right, good morning, everybody, or sorry, good afternoon. Go ahead and call the Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee to order. And before that, we have our housekeeping remarks, which I think most of us have heard by this point. Since this probably will be our last remote meeting, we'll be back in person at the next month's meeting at Rctc. But just a reminder to keep your other phones off, don't connect with a second device, and just please adhere to the speaker time limits, as we call them, and all the other good stuff that's in our opening remarks we've been reading for quite some time. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with roll call, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. District 1.
District 1 here.
District 2. District 5.
I'm here.
Corona.
Present and accounted for.
East Vale. Emmett.
Emmett is here.
Harupa Valley.
Here.
Menifee.
Menifee's here.
Moreno Valley. Norco.
Norco's here.
Harris.
Here.
Wildemar.
Here.
District 2. I do see District 2.
Oh, there she is. Supervisor, can you hear us?
Now I can. Sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you. And East Vale.
Councilmember Laura Moore there.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Very good. Supervisor Speaker, would you like to go ahead and lead us in the flag salute? Oh, we're not hearing you, Karen.
I had such great words. Please join us in the 31 words that allow us this opportunity. And please keep in mind when we say these words, those that are still serving afar, away from their families, but still sacrificing for our freedoms. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much, Supervisor. With that, we'll go on to our public comments. Do we have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda? I don't see any hands raised. Clerk, we received anything?
No, we did not receive any written comments for items not on the agenda.
Very good. Any additions or revisions or any other changes?
No, sir.
Okay. With that, we'll go on to the consent calendar. On the consent calendar, we just have the approval from our last minutes from the March 28th meeting. Anyone have any questions on the minutes?
So moved, Lorimer.
Second, Corona.
Very good. Go ahead and call the roll.
District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Corona.
Aye.
East Vale.
Aye.
Emmett.
Yes.
Harupa Valley.
Yes.
Menifee.
Yes.
Moreno Valley. Norco.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. The consent calendar passes.
Very good. We're going to item number 7, the 91 eastbound quarter operations project. David Thomas, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This item today is to discuss and request your approval to move forward with the project approval and environmental document, or PAED, phase for the State Route 91 corridor operations project, also known as the 91 Ecob. Next slide. The project approval environmental document for the Route 91 corridor improvement project, also known as 91 CIP, from Route 241 to Pierce Street, was completed in 2012. Due to funding constraints, a project phasing plan was developed to allow an initial phase to move forward as scheduled, with the remaining ultimate improvements to be completed later as future phases. The initial phase project limits are depicted on the map. The segment of Route 91 in the eastbound direction between Route 241 and Route 71 continues to experience operational deficiencies, particularly in the afternoon hours. The 91 Ecop, the subject of the staff report, is a component of the 91 CIP that was not constructed with the initial phase and would help to improve traffic operations along eastbound 91 between Route 241 and Route 71. The 91 Ecop is a project that has also been included in the 91 implementation plan since 2018. In May 2020, OCTA, in coordination with Rctc, TCA, Caltrans, and the cities of Anaheim, Yorba Linda, and Corona, initiated a 91 Ecop alternative analysis study. The purpose of the study was to identify feasible alternatives and range of cost for adding the 91 eastbound operational lane from Route 241 to Route 71, as identified with the 91 CIP PAED effort. The alternative analysis study report attached to the staff report was completed on April 1st, 2022, just a few weeks ago, and recommends 4 feasible design variations that range in total cost from $49 million to $154 million. Next slide, please. The proposed project would add an operational lane on eastbound 91 from the north 241 to east 91 connector to the auxiliary lane being constructed with the east 91 north 71 connector planned to go to construction later this year. The total lane length is 3.2 miles. The proposed project also includes design variations that would add an auxiliary lane and second lane to the eastbound 91 Green River Road off-ramp. Next slide. Staff worked with our current 91 traffic consultant, Stantec, to perform a preliminary traffic analysis to determine the benefits and potential impacts of building the 91 Ecop. This analysis was performed for a typical Friday peak period using 2025 volumes. The hours of the peak period are shown in the left-hand column, and the distance across the top represents segments of eastbound 91 from the 57 freeway on the left to I-15 and McKinley Street on the right. The green color designates free flow conditions, and the yellow and red colors show slower speeds. The number in each box designates the speed for that segment. The top graph shows the modeled condition after the 241 Express connector is constructed. The bottom graph shows the model condition with the addition of the 91 Ecop. The gap closure, which was a term used in this analysis for the 91 Ecop, increases capacity at the county line and improves eastbound 91 general purpose lane operations between Route 55 and the county line. However, the extra throughput at the county line increases flow into Riverside County and increases delay on eastbound 91 east of the county line in Riverside County. From the graph, we can see that traffic backup increases more notably from the 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. period, and to a lesser degree from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is a preliminary analysis and represents a worst-case weekday and will be further studied in the PAD phase. Next slide, please. The preliminary analysis also identified that capacity improvements are needed on southbound I-15 prior to implementing the 91 Ecop. Without capacity improvement on I-15, opening up the capacity on eastbound 91 at the county line will cause I-15 to back up onto eastbound 91. What this tells us is that it is critical that the I-15 Express Lane Southern Extension, currently planned to be open in 2028, be constructed and open to traffic prior to the 91 Ecop. Next slide. In summary, the 91 eastbound corridor operations project is a component of the 91 CIP ultimate project that was approved in the 2012 EIR-EIS. This component is not currently in the Commission's 10-year delivery plan, though it is a Measure A project. The alternative analysis study has identified new alternatives that will require environmental revalidation and an updated scoping document to identify the preferred alternative. It is estimated that this effort will take approximately 2 to 3 years and cost approximately $5 million. The 91 Ecob would improve operations on eastbound 91 between Route 241 and Route 71. However, it is important to recognize that this could further degrade traffic in Riverside County, something that will be studied further during the PA&D phase. It is also important to recognize that the timing of the project should be such that it is implemented after further capacity improvements are made to southbound I-15, such as the I-15 Express Lane Southern Extension. Project coordination will be required with multiple agencies, including Caltrans, OCTA, TCA, City of Corona, and environmental resource agencies. Staff has met with Caltrans District 8, who will be the NEPA CEQA lead for the project and will provide oversight for the project. Caltrans District 8 supports the project and concurs with moving forward in fiscal year 23 with the PA&D phase. Next slide. Staff recommends proceeding with the PA&D phase for the 91 Ecob and forwarding to the Commission for final action. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Mayor Speak, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, David. I appreciate that. Can you go back to slide 4 just so I can ask some additional questions? Yeah, 4. One more. There we go. Can you describe these two, basically the ELC egress versus the gap closure? So the gap closure is the project that we're talking about here.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we do is, it looks like we would just push, we're going to push the congestion from Gibson to Green River.
Correct. You're essentially, by adding a lane at the county line, opening up the capacity and the bottleneck that exists there today, and more traffic, not completely, but more traffic will move into Riverside County faster because of that additional capacity at the county line.
So that the 3 to 4 p.m. we're seeing basically a degradation of about 6 miles an hour average. That's the worst, I think, difference. Well, from 30 to 8, I guess, is the worst. That's at the SR 71. Because what I'm worried about is I'm worried about this driving additional cars onto Green River, then and in turn onto Foothill Parkway. But yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see what those changes are. I think there's enough of a change there. I see the benefit of it. I mean, the overall red difference, and the before built, getting people into the area. Yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to see what the differences are in the alternatives. Can you describe those a little bit more? You said from
Sure.
55 million to 155 million.
There are 4 design variations that the alternative analysis is recommending moving forward with. The initial project in 2012 identified a full standard alternative that actually shifted the center line of the 91 to the north, much bigger impacts than what's currently being proposed. The 4 design variations, they all keep the center line where it is and propose widening to the south with different design exception levels of design exceptions to try to minimize the widening and the impact. The biggest footprint alternative includes mostly standard cross section, as well as adding a second lane to the Green River Road eastbound off-ramp as part of it. So that's kind of your biggest footprint,
Okay.
highest cost alternative.
Yeah, I know that Green River off ramp has been done. I can't tell you how many times, but yeah, we have room there, but it would be nice to be able to use it. But unfortunately, shove people off. I do 100% agree that the downstream stuff needs to be handled beforehand. The one, especially on the 15, where we're shoving more down there and people are getting to that, even if they get off the freeway, they're still going to be traversing through and being caught in the plug that we have at Green River until we can continue with the 15 southbound improvements. I am a little bit bummed that we're not going to be working on anything east of the 15 other than what we've already have programmed. And I know that that's something that's been pushed off for a while, but those red numbers at the very end don't change at all, because we're again we're a snake eating a rat, and it has to come out at some point. So I see that the rat being moved down, and certainly it's an improvement, but I'll be really curious to see when this goes forward that we analyze the impacts on local streets and what that would be. I don't want to stop this. I think it's something that's needed. The eastbound 6 lane has been something that's as you mentioned, been part of this program since the very beginning. But I would like to introduce that, at least that we discuss that issue about what the impacts would be on Green River and Foothill. Thank you.
Any other questions for the rest of my colleagues? I'll look for public comment real quick on this item. Any public comment? Not seeing any hands raised. Oh, Ann, you want to add a comment?
I do. Thank you very much. Can we take the slide down just for a minute, Philip? Thanks. Thank you. So commissioners, this kind of falls under the category of fine tuning. That this is a segment of the original 91 project that was intended to be built. It's part of the environmental document. But as we start bringing forward these final pieces of the project, it's really they're on the outskirts of the original 91 project. And as Commissioner Speak mentioned, we still have an issue with congestion in the eastbound direction on the 91 going from Corona into the city of Riverside. We did look at what the impact would be in the eastbound direction if we extended the widening project to its original easterly limit, which is Pierce Street. And it really doesn't make much of a difference. In order to clear that bottleneck, I don't even know that we could ever clear it in the eastbound direction, it would take extensive improvements well into the city of Riverside beyond Pierce in order to start making a dent in the eastbound direction beyond McKinley. And these are where the trade-offs start coming in that many people driving this corridor are driving from Orange County. So the overall time savings people are going to experience, they'll be there. But then there's the challenge of what will people do to avoid any congestion in Riverside County? Will they get off at Green River, as is mentioned, and start cutting through the city again? So I think we're at a point. We're recommending that we go to the next step and perform an environmental analysis. But again, this project cannot move forward until and unless I-15 Southern Extension is open to traffic. So this is just the first initial step to see where we can go with this project. But we are fine tuning around the edges here, and every year traffic volumes continue to grow. And I think we've maybe rebuilt the Green River interchange itself 3 or 4 times now and widened the ramps about as many times. So this would be another addition at Green River. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Ann. Brian Bergson from Rupert Valley, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So I'm looking at this as kind of the same way I looked at the extension of the additional lane between Surface Club and the 241. This is the major pinch point on the eastbound for sure, every single Monday through Friday. So I know this is a little cynical, but every time there seems to be a fire on the 241 and they have to shut that toll lane down for a while, I look forward to those days, because when I come home without that pinch point, the traffic moves smoothly all the way from the 55 to the 15. So I anticipate, because of all the merging off the 241 from 2 lanes to 1, to then the people, wanting to get onto our toll lane system and all the crisscrossing, eventually, when all the projects that we've got on the boards are complete, including this one, hopefully by then we'll actually have a really, really smooth operating line between Orange County and Riverside County. So I'm looking forward to this one. So thank you.
Very good. Not seeing any other hands raised. Brian, why don't you go ahead and make a motion for us then?
I'll make the motion if you'd like.
Sure. Mayor speak.
And
Thank
I'll
you.
go ahead and second then.
There we go.
Thank you, Chair.
Very good. Go ahead and call the roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Emmett,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Norco,
yes,
Paris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 7 passes.
Very good. With that, we'll go into item 8, the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority Amendment for Bi-County Rideshare Program Services. Brian Cunningham, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. The item before you, the item before you is for the approval of an amendment to extend the term and amount for a reimbursable agreement with the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, or SBCTA, for rideshare programs administered by Rctc, serving employers and commuters in the Inland Empire. Next slide, please. Today, I'll be providing some background on Commuter Assistance, why we have a bi-county arrangement with SBCTA, and provide a brief update on a brand new incentive launched through this partnership, branded as IE Commuter. Next slide, please. A little background, the Commission's Commuter Assistance program came about as an element of the original Measure A for Western Riverside County to help reduce congestion related to work-based commutes. By engaging, educating, and encouraging employee commuters to switching from driving alone to rail or transit arrangements when possible, carpool or vanpool if transit is not available, or to telework or active transportation if those are viable options. Goals for this program include helping to reduce congestion, maximize the transit network, and help get more efficient use of the county's infrastructure investments. Another objective is to improve the quality of life for Riverside County constituents, congestion reduction and cleaner air at the community level, more productive employees at the employer level, and at the individual level, less stress, less money spent on commuting, and more time won back in one's day. Unfortunately, we do have a significant share of long distance commuters, something which we share with San Bernardino County, which takes us to the next slide. So Riverside and San Bernardino counties have the highest share of longer commutes, with a lot of commuters going to LA, Orange County, and San Diego counties for work. And we also have the most inter-county commuting between our two counties, which comprise the Inland Empire. And because our sister agency, SBCTA, shares our goals with respect to congestion reduction, cleaner air, and improved quality of life, SBCTA has contracted with Rctc since 1993 for commuter assistance services for San Bernardino County. In this arrangement and through the reimbursable agreement staff is seeking approval for today, Rctc administers an employer commuter-based program for the Inland Empire region, and SBCTA reimburses Rctc for its share of the cost. And collectively, we get more bang for the buck. It's like when I have lunch with Mondo and Finance, we both like to eat, and we both love a really good value. So we can each buy 3 slices separately, 3 slices of pizza separately, or we can pool that money to get a whole pizza and come out with 2 extra slices. Same concept here, where Rctc pays for the goods and is reimbursed by half by SBCTA. And instead of pizza slices, they consultant staff, media buys, volume breaks on gift card incentives, or volume discounts on printed collateral, promotional items, etc. Through this partnership, Rctc and Svcta has offered an Inland Empire Rideshare program for almost 3 decades. It's evolved over time, and this bi-county rideshare program is currently branded as IE Commuter. Next slide, please. So employer and commuter services provided by IE Commuter includes, but is not limited to, ride matching, information services, employer services, van-pool subsidies, and commuter incentives. And speaking of incentives, I wanted to take this opportunity to mention that it is through this partnership that we launched a brand new incentive last week. It's the $5 per day rideshare incentive, which provides ridesharing participants who live or work in Riverside or San Bernardino County with $5 a day for every day they rideshare to work in a 3-month period, up to $125. In addition to it being a new incentive, the commission also approved extending eligibility to include Eastern County, which employers that we work with there and their employees are very excited about. Our goal with this new incentive is to help all forms of transit recover, including our own van-pool program. And if the first week being out is any indication, I'm confident the new incentive will help with awareness and consideration for these alternative modes. Recent increases to commute costs, of course, are helping drive this demand as well, so timing is good. Commuters do have options, and the IE Commuter bi-county program from Rctc and Svcta is here to help. Next slide, please. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of a 2-year extension for this agreement with Svcta for an additional $2.4 million in reimbursement to Rctc for a regional commuter assistance program and to forward to the commission for final action. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for staff? Not seeing any hands raised. Any public comment on this item?
I did not receive any written comments on this item, and I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. Back to the board. Anyone, any final questions or comments? If not, I'll look for a motion.
First district moves.
Second, Eastville.
Very good. We're going to call the roll, please. Thank you.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Norco,
yes,
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 8 passes.
Very good. That brings us to item 9, the Mid-County Parkway project status and reprogramming of funds. Ann, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, commissioners. So the item before you today is related to the Mid-County Parkway construction package number 2. For the past couple of months, you've had extensive discussions regarding this project, its scope, concerns that the city of Paris has raised. Today, I am going to be providing you an update on those conversations, the current requests from the city of Paris, as well as a recommendation for finding a way to move forward with progress on the Mid-County Parkway. So at our last meeting, the direction from this committee was to go work with the city of Paris for further discussion related to their concerns, specifically at the time related to truck traffic and truck routing throughout the city based on the interim condition of the Mid-County Parkway construction package number 2. I did meet individually with several of the council members to discuss their concerns and to answer any of their questions. I would like to take a moment to thank City Manager Clara Miramontes and former City Engineer Habib Matlog for their facilitation of all of those conversations and for all of the discussion we've had over the past couple of months. And I think they're both joining us here today as well. So in the conversations with members of the City Council, the concerns remained pretty consistent related to truck traffic, truck routing, the impact of trucks from adjacent industrial developments, and what the possibilities were related to Rctc's project being able to mitigate the impacts of the truck traffic. I think the conversations were very, very helpful. At the end of those conversations, the city held a closed session meeting. I won't speak on their behalf, but I did receive a letter based on the outcome of that closed session where there was conditional approval of Mid-County Parkway interim project proceeding, but with some significant conditions. The first was a preference that trucks be routed to Placentia Avenue, which was our intent all along, that all traffic from the interim Mid-County Parkway would use Placentia Avenue, utilize the Placentia Avenue interchange we are currently building to access the 215. The city's preference was that in addition to having, mitigation along that corridor, construction of various traffic signals, looking at the pavement condition, upgrading the pavement of that corridor, but it also included a request that we acquire 12 residential properties adjacent to Placentia Avenue on the south side to create a buffer between Placentia Avenue and a neighborhood there to the south. The 12 homes are, as far as we can tell, currently occupied. They would be entitled to all relocation benefits, and none of them are needed for this project, which means eminent domain would not be a likely alternative. So we would need, even if the commission was willing to proceed, we would need 12 willing sellers to be able to purchase all of those homes and to relocate the property owners, or excuse me, the residents, as well as demolish all of the homes to turn that land into a buffer area. From a Rctc staff perspective, the acquisition of those 12 homes, although not needed for the project, would probably add somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $9 to $12 million in order to be able to accomplish those relocations. So the cost impact would be significant, and based on our experience, it's not necessarily likely that all 12 of those property owners would willingly want to sell their homes. So the second option presented by the city, if the first option was not available, was the continuation of many of the conditions of the first alternative, but that we would reroute the truck traffic north on Redlands Boulevard, rerouted along a truck route through the city, which also has some residential properties. And so we would likely be in a position of needing to contribute financially to improvements along that truck corridor as well. So whether it was the first alternative or the second alternative, from our Rctc staff perspective, the request from the city would likely add anywhere from $25 to $40 million to the total cost of the project. And of great concern to us would be the potential for impacting our environmental approvals, because we would be undertaking work outside of the footprint of the original environmental document. So from an Rctc staff perspective, we have significant concerns about the viability of an interim section in the city of Paris. At the same time, we were undertaking these conversations with the city of Paris and evaluating what the options were there. We were also starting to look at what other interim options we may have for continuing progress of the Mid-County Parkway. As we've mentioned before, the Mid-County Parkway, with our environmental approvals, we basically need to start a new construction package every 5 years or less. We need to keep this ball rolling in terms of maintaining our environmental approvals and maintaining progress on the corridor. And it's a much needed corridor for east-west traffic. So we started looking at other sections along the corridor, and right around the same time, many of you have probably seen or heard about the news reports related to significant accidents occurring in the county unincorporated area of Ramona Expressway east of the city of Paris. So basically between the city of Paris and the city of San Jacinto. I received an email as well as some traffic diagrams from Juan Perez at the county of Riverside. Juan's joining us here today as well, asking RCTC to work in partnership with the county to implement possibly an interim section of the Mid-County Parkway along that stretch as well. So Philip, if you could put up the maps for us, please, at this time. So commissioners, here is an overall exhibit of a very simplified exhibit. It's been in previous presentations of the Mid-County Parkway. To your left, you see Interstate 215 there in yellow. Highlighted in blue is the Placentia interchange currently under construction. It's about 70% complete. In green, just to the east of that, is the Placentia Avenue widening, which is a City of Paris project. They are the lead agency on it. However, RCTC, because of the future right-of-way needs, RCTC has funded the right-of-way acquisitions and relocations of several industrial businesses along that stretch of the Placentia Avenue. We were originally going to propose a construction contract number 2 for the Mid-County Parkway, shown there in red. In the City of Paris, that's been the segment that's been the topic of conversation. The conversation we've been having with the county is related to the section shown here in purple. And that's basically from just south of Lake Paris all the way to Warren Road near San Jacinto. Philip, could you go to the next slide, please? So the next 2 maps are included in your staff report, and these are the maps we received from the County of Riverside. These are their fatal and severe injury collision maps. You can see there have been a number of severe injuries shown here in yellow. The fatal collisions are shown here in red, and these are just collisions since 2018. So you can see that there are a number of accidents all along this entire corridor, which the ultimate Mid-County Parkway is basically right on top of Ramona Expressway. Next slide, please, Philip. Moving a little bit further to the east, you can also see that the injuries and fatalities are occurring all along this entire section, almost all the way to Warren Road. So Philip, could you go back 2 slides to the first overall site? Thank you. So commissioners, the recommendation before you today is to defer the Mid-County Parkway segment in the City of Paris until the project is more financially feasible with a more reliable delivery schedule so that we can meet our ultimate objectives for the Mid-County Parkway. So to defer that section and to direct staff to coordinate with the County of Riverside to develop a scope for 1 or more construction packages for the Mid-County Parkway along the segment here shown in purple. The goal would be to identify scopes for a project or multiple projects that would not only implement an interim condition for the Mid-County Parkway, but also address some of the safety concerns along those corridors. Philip, you can take the slides down, please. So commissioners, with that overall summary, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I do see, as I mentioned before, City Manager Miramontes is here as well. A lot of hard work has gone into the Mid-County Parkway for a number of years. For almost 20 years, we've been working on the Mid-County Parkway, and we've had an environmental document in place for a number of years as well. And it's really important to continue to maintain progress with the environmental approvals that we have. And I do think, notice I'm suggesting we defer the section in the City of Paris until a later time. I'm not saying that I would recommend that we avoid an improvement project there. I think at this point in time, it is in the commission's best interest financially and from a Mid-County Parkway standpoint. And most important of all, there are significant safety concerns to the east along Ramona Expressway. And from my perspective, that should be the #1 priority, to make sure that we're addressing safety concerns as a main focus of the efforts that we have. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. We'll go ahead and take the board members first. Supervisor Hewitt, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, on the 15th, a week ago Friday, I met Juan Perez down there, and he brought two other members, including Mark Lancaster and Charisse. And we went that 7 miles. We spent quite a bit of time down there, and we wanted to look, and he brought those charts along. It is one of the most dangerous stretches in the county. We're looking at, and again, we're listening to engineers. I could come up with lots of ideas, but these are people that have had a whole lot of time in this. And we can do some fairly short-term, immediate mitigations towards some safety. But as we go on and we do some widening and stuff, any things that are done there are not temporary. They fit in with the long-term, plans for the Mid-County Parkway. And I think this is something that not only keeps it for the areas of Nuevo and Lakeview and all along going into San Jacinto, but all those people that travel right now from the San Jacinto Valley, going east. It's very important, and I wholeheartedly support this at this time.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor. Commissioner Kuba from Hemet, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would agree with Supervisor Hewitt. I mean, ultimately, this is stopping the project and redefining it is a big disappointment. Going with the safety of the traffic along Mid-County or along Ramona Expressway, I think is paramount. We have lost numerous people along that stretch of road. But ultimately, with that build out, I'm glad Supervisor said it would be permanent. I mean, not temporary fixes, but a permanent fix along that stretch of the road. But ultimately, we do need to look at the ability to have truck traffic out of the San Jacinto Valley going and connecting to the 215. So I would hope we would keep that in mind while we say solve the traffic safety issues in that stretch of road. Thank you.
Very good. Supervisor Spiegel, go ahead.
Yes, it still goes along with what I shared last time, and that is very disappointed and frustrated that after 20 years and this project was moving forward and there was never a comment made until recently. And that's very frustrating. There's other cities that have had projects and we have moved forward. You can't, because a council changes and suddenly new people, take a regional project and shift the whole direction of it. And then the benefits of interchanges such as the Placentia interchange, that they'll have the benefit of having that upgraded and not having to pay for it. So it's no longer a regional project if it's not in working with the entire Mid-County Parkway. So now we've just given the city of Paris an interchange when there's so many other projects within our county that a project of that size, $70 million, could have gone to another entity. But this has been on the books. It's been in our CTAP for years. We know that it's a very necessary project. And so, as I said, it's very disappointing. And I think we're setting precedents. And that's another thing we have to be very careful with, is we've allowed a city to hijack our, we have a Measure A with the bill that went out. We have the sales tax that was very specific in that. We've got several things to where we have promised the voters of Riverside County, not just those in Paris. And I get it. And I can speak very openly, and I know that mayors speak on the phone too, what the city of Corona has gone through. And, never once did we say stop the project. We just said, work with us and let's get it better. But to say stop a project, and then the amount of, I don't even say requests, demands that the city has made to let us do a project that has been in the works for so long. It's just very frustrating.
Thank you, Supervisor. Commissioner Bergson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll certainly say ditto to Supervisor Spiegel's comments. As I was a little frustrated last time when we talked about this a month ago, I was hopeful that this time around we might get some better results, but It seems that's not going to be the case. So I'll ask this question first. Between the purple and the red, if we're to move forward with this this county segment to make any kind of improvements, and if we can never come to an agreement to continue that onto the red section ever, then where does the purple section go to? It kind of just stops at Paris's boundaries. So do we have an alternative backup to go some other way? That's question one. The second question is funding. The money that's geared toward this Mid-County Parkway that's already been, budgeted and money that's been spent. I don't know what the earmarks are for that money, if it's funded for a specific type of improvement. My question is, if we were to approve the alternative that's being discussed here today, are those funds still allowed to be used for this kind of improvement? Because it appears to be more of a road improvement rather than an expressway, so to speak, to get people from the 79 over to the 215. So those are the two big questions. And my third smaller question is, I just have a hard time understanding why a city would require us, Rctc, to purchase 12 houses or whatever the number was for a buffer. I'm not sure what the purpose of that buffer would be, because I think retaining walls or K-rails, or there are many other things that don't require, an entire house to be torn down to give a buffer. I just don't understand what the thinking there is. So that's the small question of the three. That's what I have so far. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll work backwards. Typically on a project like this, we would do noise studies and we would install a sound wall between the roadway and any homes, which is what we have done typically anywhere one of our projects impacts a residential area. I think the city is interested in having more of a buffer between the roadway and these homes, and they've asked that the 12 homes be removed. It's also adjacent to Paragon Park, so my guess is that it would be contiguous to their park as well. But that's my understanding of the request. With respect to the funding, that was a good question, and I should have included the details there. We have identified for this initial phase we had planned for this initial phase of the construction package number 2 to invest about $58 million. In fact, we already had $36 million programmed for right-of-way acquisition to start acquiring parcels for this interim section in Paris. We had another $14 or $15 million that was anticipated to be allocated for the design work and environmental work. And then I think we also had another section of local programming dollars. So there's about $58 million that were already either allocated or soon to be allocated for a package in the city of Paris. We will need to deprogram the funds that were programmed and create new allocation packages to allocate the funding. So we will need to go through a programming exercise to move the money from the segment in Paris to the segment along Ramona Expressway in the county. So we first need to scope a new project and come up with new cost estimates, et cetera, but we will have to go through a programming exercise to pivot. And then back to your first question, Ramona Expressway is a continuous corridor. So any improvement that we make on Ramona Expressway in the county, Ramona Expressway continues, it sweeps south of Lake Paris and then starts heading kind of in a northwesterly direction. So this will be a usable segment no matter what. It'll be usable whether or not we continue in through the city of Paris. But again, the intent is to eventually continue westerly into the city of Paris.
Very good. Supervisor Jeffries, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I actually support the city of Paris protecting what it perceives to be the rights and needs of its residents, first and foremost, with the caveat of, the bigger picture issue. And I'm going to ask a question to Ann, and I don't want the city of Paris to read into my question. I just need to know this to satisfy my own curiosity. Can this project move forward without the city of Paris being on board?
We have an environmental document that has already been approved and certified that would allow us to proceed. So on one hand, the answer is yes, we could keep going. However, we would probably need a permit or two from the city of Paris to build some signals in their right of way. So we could keep going. We have an approved environmental document. We'd be doing an update. But because we would need to connect to city streets, we would need permits.
So thus the challenge of moving forward without a partner.
Yes, that would be the challenge of moving forward without a partner and without any certainty that we could continue to spend millions of dollars on a project that's controversial in the city that would be dependent on the issuance, execution of cooperative agreements and issuance of permits.
How much have we spent to date total?
Total to date on the Mid-County Parkway, about $150 million.
And so by adjusting, we can salvage some of that for continued public benefit.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. So the last point I want to make, and I have to because of an obligation I have to my constituents, when the route is reconfigured basically back to Ramona Expressway, which has horrendous accidents, they're going to get from the 79 to the 215, and they're going to drive up to the 215 and see the freeway at a dead stop, as it is every day. And they will just, in some cases, just go over the freeway and head to the 91 or the 15 on a 2-lane road known as Cajalco. And if I had asked Juan Perez to provide the maps, he could have showed you the maps of the number of fatalities and accidents on Cajalco, which equal or are greater than Ramona Expressway. So that problem was going to continue no matter what route the Mid-County Parkway was going to go. It has to be addressed. It now will need to be addressed even sooner, because if we're not sending them to the new Placentia interchange, they're going to come straight to Cajalco Road. And we have to resolve that going forward. I say that on my behalf for the residents of Mead Valley, and on behalf of the 2nd District who is about to inherit all of the Lake Matthews, La Sierra area, which is going to fill that brunt as well. We just can't ignore it. So again, I respect the city of Paris to make sure it protects the interests of its residents impacted by this, but there is a greater good here that we need to try and figure out what the hell we're going to do, because throwing away $150 million in change is not an acceptable alternative, especially given the number of fatalities and injuries we have occurring on our existing roads today. So this is going to be a real tough one to figure out. And I do support the current proposal.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I, just a reminder for the committee members as well, we mentioned it in the staff report, but I want to reiterate it, especially in light of the comments Supervisor Jeffries just made. When this commission approved the environmental document for the Mid-County Parkway as a part of the, the commission approved the environmental document, but also adopted another separate commitment that this commission would provide funding for Cajalco Road between the 215 and the 15 proportionally to the improvements being made on the east side of 215. So as we make improvements along Ramona Expressway, we'll also be needing to provide funding to the county for the Cahelco road widening to the west. We have been setting the stage for doing that, and the county is currently working on the environmental document, so we'll be able to start implementing that further when the county has full environmental approval of Cahelco Road. But just a reminder for this committee, we had a simultaneous commitment to Cahelco Road when this commission approved the Mid-County Parkway.
Very good. Commissioner Hoffman, go ahead.
Well, I think Ann just answered my question, and Commissioner Bergson asked the other question I had. So, and Ann, give me correctly, is the environmentals for the Ramona Expressway through the county has not been done, but funding has been issued for, correct?
Through this section, the Mid-County Parkway environmental document is done all the way from the 215 all the way to Sanderson or Highway 79 in San Jacinto. The stretch of Ramona Expressway that we're talking about here is covered by that ultimate improvement. So the environmental document is approved. We will need to, and we'll have to come back for authorization to do this. We will need to do some updated technical studies depending on the scope of work we have. But overall, I would anticipate that any work we do on Ramona Expressway will be within the footprint of the already approved environmental document.
Very good. Mayor Vargas, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just point out a few things, and thanks, Ann, again, for reaching out to some of my colleagues and putting in your time and effort in trying to come up with a resolution on this. But option A with the remove the houses, I understand the position behind the Rctc. The second option to go a different route, my understanding from staff was that was an estimated adjustment of $5 million. I'm not sure what we're getting all these higher numbers from. It's not that significantly high. And overall, it's after all this meeting and time spent, we did not shove this to the side and say flat out no. We did come up with a resolution from my council majority and recommended two options. Option one may, because those homes were not in the original plan to eliminate, so I do understand the policy behind that, so that could be significantly higher, but the option two would not have been as high as Ann may be saying, and I'm not the expert either, but I'm just coming from where my staff's point, direction from my staff. But the ultimate point here, I just want to keep stressing that it comes from the majority of my council, is this is not the original plan that was agreed upon in the city of Paris. This is an interim project that is causing some mitigation factors. You know, if this was the ultimate, which we all know we don't have the funding for that, there would be no issue because we're not stopping in the middle of the city of Paris and dropping all the traffic off. And it's not just about truck. Mid-County Parkway was never designated to accommodate trucks. Our region didn't even have that many warehouses back when this all started talking about. This is way before I even moved into Paris in 2004. These warehouses have come over since then. But that creates a concern with the majority of my council, is that now that the fact that this will end in the middle of our city will deploy a lot of trucks into our city. And that's the area that we're just trying to mitigate. And it's not a fair statement to indicate that we're just wanting to stop this plan. I understand the mission of our commission. I sit on this commission and I represent everybody in this region, not just the city of Paris. And we have to all make choices what's best for this region. And I get that and I understand that. But you also have I'm one of five, and you have a commission or a council that the majority, which I have to stand behind my majority. But it is a true statement to know that this is not the original plan. The original plan was never going to stop and end in Redlands. It was going to continue all the way on to 215. So it's a big ask now to come back. And when you come back, we have a school in place now, have different residents in that area. So they bring up legitimate concerns and issues. So we did try to work. We did come up with a couple of solutions. I think option two, if you want to call it that, would be more viable than obviously the first one, because we're not going to have to take out 12 homes. But yet again, Anne has come through with her staff and has created an alternative, temporary alternative, if you will, that we can reroute this right now temporarily and then come back and see how we can get this finalized through Paris. And I accommodate her for coming up with that plan, and I support that as well. So thank you, Anne, for all your effort that you've been going through in this endeavor, and for my colleagues as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Vargas. Commissioner Speak, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to agree with Kevin, or with Supervisor Jeffrey's comments. Yeah, I respect the City of Paris for making a choice. And I appreciate also that the staff found another way, maybe not the perfect way, but I agree. I also agree that the Ramona Expressway definitely needs some help. And I am concerned, as you know, Supervisor Jeffrey said about Cajalco, because it does dump into an area that is notoriously another problem. And you know, we talked earlier in the previous item about moving this bottleneck back and forth, and you know, where we're shoving this to. And I agree that Cajalco needs attention. Cajalco needs. For all the obvious reasons, you know, I've seen many accidents there and deaths, and those things need to happen. But I want to make sure that we continue to keep talking about, and as we did on the previous item, the impacts of moving those bottlenecks around. It's very important that people understand them, and we're able to either try and mitigate for them. And I know that the department or the staff has been working really hard with Mr. Perez and Rctc to ensure that these other projects like Cajalco and projects in Temescal Canyon that continue to push forward, they all need to be part of the conversation. And you know, as and you've said many times, we can't build our way out of this. And this is my gosh, talk about the perfect, you know, example of that, and even the previous item as well. But like I said, I for what's been presented, I sympathize with the council in the city of Paris, and hopefully we can find a way to get these folks moved around and have the money that we have spent not be, you know, a waste, but we find ways to go forward what staff has proposed. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Speak. I'll bring it back to our city manager from Paris, City Manager Miramontes, and thank you for being so patient and waiting for our commissioners to speak. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chairman Benoit. I'm Clara Miramontes, City Manager for the City of Paris. And first, I'd like to really sincerely thank Executive Director and Mayor for really working collaboratively with the City of Paris and going out of her way to meet with our council and myself and our staff so that we can find a solution to see how we can move this project forward. I won't repeat a lot of things that have already been said, but you know, the city is aware of the funding limitations. And in consideration of that, knowingly that, you know, we wanted to see how we can find some solutions, we've been working with Ms. Ann Mayer with the understanding that the corridor proposed interim improvements as presented to us is different than the original alignment that was originally designed. Originally, the corridor was intended to connect directly onto the Placentia Avenue interchange. However, the interim improvements at the time that the Placentia interchange began construction, that interim design was not yet completed. So Paris, you know, was able to find out about the changes after the start of construction of Placentia interchange. And knowing that, we were trying to find a solution after so many funds had already been expended on this interchange to see how we can move forward. So now by ending the corridor at Redlands Avenue, this now is causing increased traffic and noise to some of the local areas, some of the streets, residents in the area. There was a park, a school, and a fire station along Placentia Avenue. After much discussion, in trying to move forward, the council majority, as Mayor Vargas indicated, did actually recommend to move forward in support of the internet improvements with some mitigation. The mitigation that staff is recommending is very typical of any mitigation that causes traffic impacts throughout the city, such as walls, landscape buffers, and traffic mist signals. We understand that option one is a little bit more cumbersome and more costly because of the 12 homes. Some of those homes were already slated to be removed as part of the original design. So we're talking about a few more. But the second option of diverting truck traffic northbound would eventually connect all truck traffic back to Placentia Avenue onto the interchange at Indian Avenue. We were, the city, willing to work with Rctc so that we don't deviate from the EIR and jeopardize the EIR, and us taking part of those projects in cooperation with Rctc. So I just wanted to express that, also point out that the letter speaks to the comments I just made, and it's attached, and just want to just go over what that letter included. And again, thank Ms. Ann Mayer for trying to work with us through this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, do we have any other public comment on this item? I don't see any hands raised for public comment. Is there anyone in the public who wants to make a comment? If not, Lisa, did we get any other responses or something sent in?
We didn't receive any written comments, and I'm not seeing any other hands raised.
Supervisor Hewitt moved to approve staff's recommendation at this time.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Hammett will second that.
Very good. With the clerk, go ahead and call the roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 9 passes.
Very good. With that, we'll go ahead and go on to the executive director report. And go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to highlight for you all, and you might actually be able to see it on some of the news clips, we had a ribbon cutting last Thursday for the Railroad Canyon I-15 interchange in the city of Lake Elsinore. So it was a really fun event. It was great to be able to celebrate in person. And Commissioner Bob McGee was an outstanding MC for the event. And for those of you who weren't there, Congressman Calvert made sure that he made it known that he thought we better hurry up and widen I-15 all the way down to the city of Lake Elsinore. And could we do that pretty quickly? I think Supervisor Spiegel and Commissioner McGee seconded that from the stage. So anyway, we had a great event last Thursday celebrating the opening of that project, and we are working on getting the event for the 60 climbing lane project or 60 truck lane project, a ribbon cutting in the near future as well. That completes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Any other commissioner comments? Here's like we've already all made our comments. Very good. All right, with that,
And my hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor, go right ahead.
Just to go along, and I think it was all said, is that working with you, Ann, has been a learning experience. Your ability to compromise and work with 34 bosses, whatever we are now, and come up with solutions. And I know that when we express ourselves of being frustrated, whether today talking about this project or any other project that's not going the direction we want, the ability to share that and then working and you coming up with some creative ideas. I know we've had this within several places within Riverside County. There's a lot of projects going on, a lot of moving pieces, and for your ability to keep the pieces continually moving, changes have to be made, and I appreciate your ability to work with this many entities and keep this organization on a straight path. We may not always agree with everything, but that's the country we live in, the ability to share and say we don't agree, but we still move forward together as one body. And it shows that your leadership is there to keep us going. So thank you.
Thank you. We have a great team and we'll keep moving. We'll keep progress going. Thank you.
Very good. And with that, our next meeting will be back on May 23rd, back in person. Is that right, Lisa?
That's correct.
All right. Look forward to that. And with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.